Hi guys, in this video we're going to be doing a little bit more advanced stuff with Google Drawing. For example, here is a bit of a flowchart that I'm creating. I don't like these words, so I'm going to change the color of the text to white so they pop off the page a little bit. If I was doing some advanced formatting, I might do a strike through, puts a little line in between. I don't really want a strike through, so I can undo that. A superscript and a subscript. Let me show you what that looks like if I put a 2 at the end of that. But I don't want the 2 to be even. I actually want the 2 to be higher. So I can do a superscript. That makes it go up to the top. This is good for math functions. Subscript puts it down lower. I hit the undo arrow twice and we're back in the middle. So I'm going to say type 3, highlight those words, make them bigger. Make them bold maybe, change the color to white so they're easier to see. And we've got a nice function there. Over here, do the same thing. I can change this ahead of time. So let's say we make it 18, change this to white. So when I type right from the beginning, it's going to make it closer to what I want. And we'll make that 1. Now, here's a really neat feature. If I click on one of these shapes, go up to the line function, I have 2 connectors. The connectors will allow me to go from one of these dots to another one of the dots. Now you can see the one I chose for that was an elbow connector. It makes 90-degree angles. If I want a curved connector, I can click here, do a curve instead of a 90-degree angle. It's totally up to you as to how you do that. So there's a couple of things you might want. Maybe I want a table, so I can go right to the table, insert table, and you can see all the things that are grayed out because we don't have a table yet created. But inserting rows and columns, deleting rows and columns, and distribute rows, distribute columns just makes all the columns or rows even, makes them the same width or height. Merge cells makes 2 cells that are separate one big cell. Unmerge means that it splits them back apart. So we're going to create a table. There's our table. I can make sure I'm on the arrow. That's a tricky bit. Make sure I'm on the arrow. I can change the shape, size, length, whatever I want with this table. And I can type right in each of those cells. There's a drop-down arrow next to it which gives me some more capabilities to give borders. And pretty much that's how the tables work. Alright, I click on the edge of the table, hit delete, the whole thing goes away. So that's tables. Special characters would be under insert. So if we go from special characters, if I go to insert, I can go down to special characters, and you can see that right here. If I click on that, I get a lot of special characters, and I can add those right into what I'm doing. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about just real briefly is changing the shape. So if I go to format, I've clicked on a shape here, I can go all the way down to change shape and make the shape that I've selected a whole different shape. And that's a really nice thing. It retains the words and anything that I've typed in it. It also retains these connectors. So it's nice to be able to change shapes. I can also change lines, and I can do line decorations. Notice that on the ends of these lines I can change so it's round or it's a round joint, and I can make it a little bit more special. Now because these lines are short and the way these are formatted doesn't really matter in our case, but it could depending on what you were doing. The last thing I wanted to show you is just simply, let's say I wanted this to be exactly in the middle. Well, if I go to arrange and rotate, I can flip it, watch what happens. See how the connectors switched? Now I have the connections on the opposite side. So I can go to arrange, rotate, flip, and it flipped back. The connectors changed. But again, let's say I wanted it right in the middle. I would want that to be center on page. Now do I want it horizontally or vertically? Well, if I make it horizontally, watch what happens. Nothing, because I already had this centered. If I went here and changed this to be arranged centered on page horizontally, watch what happens. It actually put it behind my square. So I don't really want that. But that's how that would work. Let's say I pull this down a little bit so you can see that. So arrange, center on page, horizontally, puts it right in the middle. You can do the same thing with arranging them vertically, and it's a really nice way to be able to arrange especially a flowchart.